Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris and Mark back with an instant match reaction. Newcastle United have just gone to the Emirates and beat Arsenal 2-0. The first team to do it since the Villa did it in April. Unbelievable. Newcastle United are sprinkling more salt in North London than Salt Bay in a Soho restaurant. This is absolutely brilliant. It's the second game in a row we've rattled North London. What an amazing performance from the lads. Again, quality, but also resilience, digging in. We're going to get stuck right into it. Talk about this game. Me and Mark are absolutely buzzing about this result. I'm sure all you guys are as well. If you are checking us out for the first time, this will be a good one. You'll enjoy this one, unless you're an Arsenal fan and unlucky. Wow. We're going to get stuck right into it. Like and subscribe, guys. And also, we're live as well. Jump in the comments. I can see loads of the comments flying in. Mark will have to be on the old star button to keep me right, because we'll end up getting lost with all the list. But Mark, what a performance from Eddie Howe's Mags there, mate. What a result for the first leg of this tie. And it's not over, in case you didn't hear. ITV, aka Arsenal Fan TV, decided to tell everybody that this tie isn't over. But how much would you have got for that? And the odds in the bookies, mate. 2-0 in Newcastle? Wow.
Well, I think we kind of thought, speaking to people today, it was a case of, look, if you can come out of the Emirates with a result, even some were saying, a 1-0 defeat would take back to St James's Park and allow Newcastle to go in. But that was brilliant. I mean, just it's cliche to kind of say the perfect away performance, all that guile and effort and puncturing their much vaunted defence, I guess, at times in the first half, and then backs to the wall, 5-5-0 in formation in the second half. But look, they were magnificent that second half defensively as well. And look, it's just, is it too early to say 1 foot in? I'm loath to kind of say it for wanting to tempting the gods of football, because they have a tendency to bite me on the arse.
Mark was telling me off everybody about the gods of football, because through the game I kept texting him how much I hate Kai Havertz. I did use a word that I will not use on this channel. Let's just say "see you next Tuesday" is a short acronym, because I do dislike Havertz immensely. But Mark kept saying football gods. Some comments coming in for you guys. Scott is saying the look at Arteta's face is priceless. Did you see him checking his watch? Mark found a brilliant stat with Arsenal being the worst time wasters in the league. So maybe check your own watch, Mikel, and check when it's time to change your nappy, you shithouse. George is saying 8 in a row for Isak, absolutely class. Stephen saying man for man, the best 100 minutes I've seen the lads play since PSG. Absolutely backs to the wall stuff. Big Al saying, well done, lads. Suck on that, Arteta. Absolutely. Mission accomplished, says the GOAT. Aaron's buzzing. He says, come on, the lads. John is saying, Geordie boys taking the piss. Absolutely. I tell you, the referee was taking the piss. More on him in a minute. Trevor saying, a man emotional night. What a performance. We were astonishing all over the pitch, aside from the ITV commentary with Dickhead Dixon. We'll get into that in a minute. Josh's commentary was much better. Bless him. I didn't even know the lad was doing a watch along. Bless him. You probably need some of that as well. The two review lads do a great job. It's nice to have other people doing it too, I suppose. Chris is saying, it was so bloody good. Roger the Dodger is in the house. Hall outstanding again. Yes, there'll be plenty of Lewis Hall love in a minute, Roger. So let's get stuck in, Mark, and have a look at the lineup if you've got it there. Bit of a surprise this, because we all kind of thought that we were going to go for Sean Longstaff. Well, the journalists said it. We all said it. We said Eddie won't be brave enough, so to speak, to make any other changes. And he surprised us by keeping Tino Livramento in the team. It turned out to be very much the right decision, which we'll get into that in a second. But he brought in Joe Willock instead of Sean Longstaff for the injured Bruno Guimaraes, as Mark is choking on his own enthusiasm to talk about this lineup as he has this week. So, a lot of us thought he would go steady. Sean Longstaff, pretty much a safe replacement. I was wanting Louis Miley. Me and you both wanted Louis Miley. We said that on the show last night. But, Joe Willock coming in was a brave roll of the dice from Eddie, wasn't it? Because he didn't just go, right, let's play it safe. He wanted to play somebody who could offer a little bit of something.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think the lack of the ball at times and Willock's ability to carry the ball forward, I think is probably what he was looking for, to get in that gap in behind Alex Isak as well. He does like to get into those areas, and it is a brave choice to do that, because I think we sort of thought he would play it safe and play Longstaff, and I know Willock didn't have the best of games. I thought he did well in certain areas. He certainly did well defensively in terms of getting back and putting blocks in and things. And I did think he tried to overplay. You texted me during the game and said, look, I think he's trying to overplay a little bit early in the first half, but he did a good job. It always sort of worries me with both him and Joe Linton in that midfield three, because they're very similar in terms of carrying the ball. Different players defensively, but very similar in terms of that. Not as good with the ball at their feet, passing wise, but very good at carrying the ball. So it did sort of worry me that might be an issue. But look, I'm proved wrong sort of again with that. And you hold your hands up and say, look, at the end of the day, the result proves that there was a good choice to make that change. And he does cause you problems because of his ability to get into those areas forward, and his work rate and his ability to get back too.
Absolutely. And Robert said, has anyone who checked on Arteta? I'm sure he's explaining how we cheat. He will be, no doubt about that. I'm sure about that. And ITV will give him the platform for it, because they were all about Arsenal tonight. Carlos is saying, NUFC masterclass player rating, EasyJet 10 all the way around. Actually, we don't do the player ratings, but you know what? Fuck it, we'll give them all 10s, Carlos. We're with you, mate. I think going back to the kind of the way the game played out the first half, I think we're just saying that in the comments there before, and I said it in the preview. I wasn't scared of Arsenal going into this game, and the lads didn't look scared. The lads didn't go in there to dig in. We could tell by the Willock inclusion that we weren't going in there to fully dig in. We were going to make it a difficult game for them. We were going to press them. We were going to make it difficult for them to break us down. But in terms of the performance, we gave a bit back to them. We passed, we moved, we pressed. We did really well. And then obviously, ironically, before the game, when the bus pulled in and Isak come off the bus, some Arsenal fan said, "Welcome home, Isak." Now, I'd like to hope it was a little child, and I'm not going to go harsh and say it was a little child, but the cynical mind in me, I am definitely the most cynical out of the two of us. I think it was a fully grown, never, if you didn't know already.
It was Arsenal fan TV, really.
Yeah, it was Arsenal fan TV. So I say, you fucking losers. And Alexander Isak did feel at home, because he smashed the ball in off the crossbar in 37 minutes. And it had to be him, Mark, didn't it? It had to be him. Not just because the guy cannot stop scoring, but because these lot thirst over this lad so much that, I mean, he looked electric tonight, dropping shoulders. He danced between Gabriel and Saliba like there were a couple of fat pub team players at times, man. He was so up for the game, I suppose the cynic might say, oh, he's trying to prove something to Arsenal. That's probably what all the Arsenal fan TV people are saying right now. But he wasn't. Alexander Isak was showing you he's not only the best centre forward in the Premier League right now, he's arguably the best centre forward in Europe,
mate. I don't think you can disagree. The form at the moment he's in, definitely, he's absolutely brilliant. And he, the run that he sort of put together, he pulled the Arsenal defender this way and that, and pulled the ball back, and it's close to Gordon getting to it. It just pulls. Behind him, Lewis Hall gets the shot away, and then it's Tonali that then follows up and puts the ball over. He should be hitting the target with that, particularly after his goal against Brentford in the last round. There's the Joe Linton chance before that as well, which gets skied. But look, Isak is just a magnificent footballer, and there's always going to be that argument. Are we slightly bitter, Chris? Are we a bit salty? That
Oh, that's all right, Chris.
Never mind.
Salt goes well with that, mate. Salt goes well with that. There's plenty.
There's always next year.
Exactly.
But there's always that argument, I think, now of Isak versus Haaland as to who's the best striker. I think they're comparable in terms of goal return now as well. But oh bless.
Oh, go have a cup of tea.
Isak is by far the better footballer. He's absolutely brilliant.
No doubt he's a better footballer. There's no doubt. With the ball at his feet, Mark, and his intelligence, his movement, his ability. We almost need two Isaks. If we had one to finish and one to do that out wide, we probably would be winning the league, in all fairness. But we've got a super chat coming in, mate, from Graham Ritchie. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate that, buddy. What a performance. I am knackered. How the hell do you pick a man of the match? But I won't book my hotel yet. There is a flood wall in London tonight. Yeah, I can't tell if that's piss from Arteta's fanny pad or if it's tears from his eyes, mate. But he's just such an unlikable manager. He's just such a wank. He really is. I saw him on the sideline, and the ITV punditry was fucking disgraceful the way they were talking about it. But they were laughing, going, "Oh, he's nearly on the pitch here." And I thought, you know what? Get him on the pitch, and Joe Linton can fucking cut him in half like a Brazilian guillotine. The little wank. If he played against Joe Linton as a player, he would have been snapped in 3 pieces and served back in a fucking takeaway box. But the game itself, just before the goal, I mean, Arsenal get away with a blatant pull on the edge of the box for Isak. The referee set his stall out early. Mate, people thought the ref was bad against Spurs. This ref was fucking shocking. John Brooks was fucking shocking. Some of the decisions he was letting go. I said to you, he's blowing more than fucking Talisa, because every single time there was a challenge, he was blowing that whistle non-stop. And every single challenge we made was a free kick. Every single challenge they made wasn't a free kick. Tonali got tripped over how many times? Joe Linton was getting pulled back. Gordon gets pulled back. Isak gets pulled back. The minute we put any pressure, any slight hand on an Arsenal player, they go down like a sack of shit. And it's a free kick. So Newcastle didn't just win the game, by being resilient. They won the game because the referee was awful, mate, as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got the TV on the background there in the interviewing Isak and showing the push. And to be fair, there is a push on I think it's Odegaard prior to the goal. But
on the lead up to the goal,
that a couple of minutes beforehand, he's running through to sort of get on the end of something at that point. And Trossard completely pulls his arm to pull him back, and how that's not given as a foul and pulled back. Then there's multiple either way, I think, fouls, but there were loads of fouls in the second half that were let go. There's a couple on Tonali. Arteta was raging at one that was the ref had let play on and then brought the goal back, and then went nuts again, and Sean Longstaff tackled Gabriel Jesus and fairly gets the ball. And yeah, there was an awful lot of rubbish from the referee again.
Ref was awful.
It's part of the course now, isn't it? Because they're all pretty much on the same level. They just don't. I think the introduction of VAR has meant that they're just unwilling to make some of those sort of tough decisions. And you say, though, I think you mentioned sort of bottling decisions. I think that's right at times, because they rely so heavily on the video assistant that they're not willing to take a chance and give a decision themselves.
No, they're just cowards, mate. George is feeling generous. He's gifted 5 Evermore memberships. Thank you very much,
Thank
George. You, appreciate that, Bonnie lad. Everyone's losing their mind about old Salty Chris in the comments there. Don't worry, guys. Just let him cry about it. The reason he's on this platform is because all the Arsenal platforms are shit, and they're all moaning probably about things. That's probably what it is. But I think going back to the match, obviously we're going at half-time 1-0, rightly so. We're definitely good for the lead, in my opinion. Arsenal had quality, there's no doubt, but Rice couldn't find players with the passes. I think Tino Livramento dealt with Martinelli in the first half superbly well. He was like his fucking shadow everywhere he went. He was there. We'll get into man of the match in a minute. And then we'll come out in the second half. I think the only player that disappointed me, I said in the first half, was Joe Willock. I felt he wasn't in the game enough in the first half. The second half, he come back and made some crucial blocks like everybody did. I just felt in the game in the first half, Joe Willock went missing the game, passed him by a bit. Ironically enough, I think I said to you, I think the game's too high of a level for Murphy, and then he goes and gets 2 fucking assists, which is just typical Jacob Murphy at the minute, really, mate. So.
Well, the way that he takes the ball for the first goal from that Botman flick, it is brilliant. I don't think he means the assist, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt given the form he's been in. But the pass in for the second goal from the right-hand side to find Isak in space on the edge of the box is just brilliant. It's just, typical Murphy. When you kind of write him off, he comes up with an absolute perler, and that pass inside was absolutely brilliant. look, he's what is it? 7 assists now this season, I think.
It's
8
ridiculous,
assists
mate.
in all comps.
Really, really is.
He's showing that he deserves that place absolutely. And look, we'll keep writing him off, and he keeps producing. So there we go.
Well, it was an article in the Athletic that Chris Waff wrote. Chris is a nice lad. We've done some stuff with Chris before. He's a really top lad, and he said Murphy's gone from being shit to a shit house to shit hot. Is basically what he said was the transition of Murphy, which I think is pretty accurate, really. Marcus is also feeling generous. He's gifted 10 Evermore memberships.
Thank you,
Marcus,
mate.
Thank you so much. And just a comment here, stepping away from football for a second from John. John said he found out his wife today had cancer, which I'm really sorry to hear that, John. It's
sorry, mate.
It's never good to hear that shit. It's something that me and Mark have obviously both dealt with in our personal lives as well, mate. And I just hope that she can get to a point where she can get past it and get away from it, mate. And everything's good, and you've got good days ahead of you. But I'm glad the result put a smile back on your face, but hopefully we can as well. When you deal with that bad news, and loads of love to the wife as well, mate, because that's fucking horrible to deal with, and it puts everything in perspective. But so going back to the football, obviously we get the second goal again. It's Isak again, mate. He's coming up there, he's just causing fucking bother again, and he gets the shot off Raya, who I still don't rate as a keeper, to be honest with you. He's very, very shaky, I think, at times. He palms it out, and who's there but Anthony Gordon, just to tap it in the back of the net. We're 2-0 up. The Gunners are sick as fuck. And then Eddie Howe does something really bizarre. With about 20 minutes to go, he makes a triple substitution. He takes off Alexander Isak. He takes off, I'm just trying to look at the substitutes. He takes off Alexander Isak for Harvey Barnes. He takes off Jacob Murphy, who got 2 assists for Lloyd Kelly. He takes off Joe Willock for Sean Longstaff. And then he takes Anthony Gordon off shortly after for Miggy Almiron. And we actually go 5-5-0 in terms of formation, which utterly drove the ITV commentary mad. Because I texted you and said Scotland, didn't I? Because I remember
good old Bertie Vogts.
No, it was Craig Levine. Was it Craig Levine?
Was it? Oh,
I just remembered.
Sorry, Bertie.
Craig Levine. Sorry, Bertie. Rest in peace. I think he's passed on as well, Bertie. But so it was 5-5-0. Which really fucking pissed off the Arsenal fans even more, which was brilliant, to be honest with you. But I even said to you, have we dug in a bit too soon? But, mate, the resilience. I mean, I think I said to you, there was more blocks in that game than some notorious people on social media who don't like it when people disagree with them, which I won't say who they are. You know who you are. But the block after block after block. I mean, Sven Botman, again, there was no rust tonight from Sven Botman. He looked back to his Botman best. Just some of the blocks were ridiculous. Dan Burn would take a fucking bullet tonight. If somebody pulled a gun out, Dan Burn would have jumped in front of that tonight. He was absolutely superb, and for everything he lacks as a pretty footballer with a great touch and, defense split and long range passes, his main job is to defend. And fucking hell, Mark, can that boy defend? I mean, what a performance from Dan Burn again tonight. We'll get to man of the match in a minute. But Dan Burn again tonight, man. Just captain's armband, a captain's performance from Dan Burn for me, man.
Colossus. Is it? I mean,
I think as Christopher says, colossal.
Yeah, I think we mocked him up as the Colossus of Rhodes once as an image, didn't we? And he was fitting. He will get in front of absolutely everything. He doesn't care. He doesn't take his body into account or anything. He is just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I mean, John, good luck to you all, because it is awful. And like Chris says, our heart goes out to you, and we wish you all the love and all the luck with everything that comes ahead. So good luck to you, mate.
What I would say, John, is I've said that to a few people, that have been through what they have now in terms of medical advancements, and these people in the NHS are absolutely incredible. They don't get enough. I'm not going to go into that. Christ, I don't do a political podcast. I'd be on for hours if I did. But, what those people do in the NHS is absolutely incredible, and should be in safe hands, mate. And they'll do everything they can to help you both through it, and hopefully, that will be the case, mate. But let's, I'm sure there's going to be good days ahead, buddy. So just keep the faith. But Kaz is saying, nice to see Whoopi and Les on commentary. Yeah. To be fair, I thought Ian Wright looked quite stout. I did like it when Ian Wright said at halftime, we need to do more. And I was like, no, Ian. Arsenal need to do more. You need to drop that. It's impartiality, mate. I think you forgot all about it. You've been doing this media stuff long enough, righty. You should fucking know that by now. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just to cover the. I mean, the only bit, and I switched ITV on from Sky, and that's part of me wishes I hadn't, because I had to listen to Lee Dixon. But
you went back to Sky. That's how bad it was.
To be fair, I liked the point in which they were talking about Arteta and him looking at his watch and the time wasting and stuff like that, and I like the fact that Lee Dixon went 2-0 up away from home in a cup semi-final. I'm time wasting. Fair play to you. I mean, Arsenal at that point, in his era would have done, the whole 1-0 to the Arsenal. They were the kings of it at that point. So yeah, I like the fact that he was okay with what was going on, and who isn't? I mean, look, if you are in that position, you're going to hang on and hang on and hang on to everything that you've got to take that into the next leg to give you the best opportunity. So you can't knock it. If it's 2-0 the other way around, Arsenal are doing exactly the same thing.
Oh,
so
if I said that, if Manchester United had rocked up in that game tonight and done that performance, they would have never stopped talking about how brilliant it was, masterclass from Amorim and all that stuff. And it's these moments where I think I said to you, these guys don't want Newcastle to succeed. They don't want Newcastle to be that team that's winning trophies and getting top four. They don't want that. The total good game on the main channels. The likes of Ian Wright, I don't think has any malicious intent, because he even said if Newcastle get this right, wow, watch out for them. And obviously, Big Les is Big Les, you know what I mean? But a lot of the other, Skies and the TNTs, and all, they don't want Newcastle to be that team, and they were the same with City. And the difference was they couldn't stop City because of none of these kind of restrictions were there when City had their wealth come to them. But if we managed to get there with all of those hurdles in the way, it's almost a better achievement than City was. Because we've got there without it. Matt's got a great point there. We won that without Bruno Guimaraes. You almost forget that he wasn't there, and we managed to see out the last 20 minutes, which was absolutely unreal. You're absolutely right, Matt. I mean, Newcastle have shown now they can blow teams away in the first 30 minutes of a game, and they can also dig in and be resilient in the game. We've had 2 games against, 2 of the alleged elite teams in the Premier League. We went behind in one, and we won it 2-1 and dug in and, defended resiliently. And we had another one there where we went in front, and then we dug in, absorbed the pressure, then we got another goal. That's what title-winning teams do. I'm not saying we're going to win the title, but that's the kind of away performance that teams do when they win titles. You don't blow teams away 4 or 5-0 every week. But remember Manchester United were doing that in the 90s where we fucking hated them, and then in the 90s where we hated them even more. That's what Manchester United were doing in games. They were digging in and winning 2-0. And then that's the kind of games that they were playing. Now, people think Man United were blowing teams away every week. They weren't. You have to be able to win in a multitude of different ways. But obviously, Arsenal turned up the pressure mark. Loads of chances. I mean, obviously, Martinelli hit the post before. We got our second goal in the second half anyway. But the defense was just absolutely incredible. I mean, man of the match. Let's get to it. We're talking long enough now. My man of the match was Tino Livramento, because I thought he was just absolutely brilliant. I thought, you look at SofaScore, they don't give him a great score, but you can't really look at SofaScore for a game like this. I think Tino Livramento was absolutely everywhere. I think he's got 8 clearances, according to this, 1 interception. They haven't got him making any tackles, but he just kept getting in the way and getting the ball. And he was so touch tight to Martinelli in the first half. I just thought he was absolutely brilliant. He tired towards the end, but I think the reason Eddie stuck with him was for that pace to deal with Martinelli. I think Trippier, as much as everyone was talking about Trippier's guile and his nous and his experience, Trippier would have got nailed for pace tonight against Martinelli. Martinelli would have had him on toast. So it was a clever move by Eddie Howe. And Tino repaid that faith, mate, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 North London clubs in a row he's been absolutely magnificent against. He was great at the weekend. He was absolutely brilliant tonight. I think, and again, we talked about this before. It's sort of a toss, but I thought Joe Linton was great as well.
Excellent.
And sort of his just endless amounts of energy. He did look absolutely shattered at the end and deserves a weekend off, I think, this weekend. Because he...
mention for Lewis Hall as well. Trevor's right. Another brilliant performance by Lewis Hall. Yeah.
It's funny because in the second, I mean, I messaged you and said, look, they are defending magnificently. It was, it was starting to get a little bit panicky, and then Lewis Hall takes that ball and turns and gets between two players and just moves away with the ball with such ease. And the cross that gets put in, and he manages to get his... I mean, he's so good It's such a good football. He managed to get his foot round it and just clear it out for a throw-in rather than any other issues.
Can you name a better? I tell you something. If Thomas Tuchel watching him against Spurs on tonight, why not give him a fucking cap? I'd give him a cap. I think he's been absolutely magnificent for Newcastle.
He hasn't, but I don't think he's put a foot wrong in many weeks now. He's done all season where he stepped in really, and he's really made the fact that Botman was missing almost irrelevant at times, because he even when things weren't going well, Dan Burn still stood up and was still excellent.
Well, on that point, great question from Jason. Does Share get back in the team? I don't think he does for me. I would stick with Botman and Burn. But I understand why you would bring Share back in for all the qualities that he has. But Eddie doesn't like breaking up a winning team. I mean, obviously, he will change the team against Bromley. It'll be a total different team. You know, we might see Louis Miley, we might see Sala, we might see some of the younger lads playing as well, potentially. But I don't think Share walks back into that side the way them two have played in the last couple of games.
No, funnily enough, I do think he probably plays at the weekend. I think
against Bromley, you think Share plays?
He's had 2 games off. I think possibly you're looking at a back four of Trippier, Share, Kelly, and Target. So I think he comes in for that game. But as to the Wolves game, I mean, after those 2 performances from the back four, I don't change it for next week at all. And it would seem almost daft to do it. I mean, unless there is any sort of residual recuperation that Botman needs a little bit extra time after those 2 games, and they've been hard work for him. Look, I don't change it. I really don't. The 2 of them have been brilliant. Bar that, like I said yesterday in What's Going On, I think bar the first 18 minutes in the Spurs game, where he was a little rusty, he's been brilliant for what's happened next. And Burn alongside him has just been great. And the 2 of them work so well together, I think, as well. So
it's like Beauty and the Beast, isn't it? In terms of Botman's got that ability to just get on the ball and do these wonderful things, and Burn's just a proper, like I say, out of all of our players, one of those players that could survive in the 90s would be Burn, because he's just that kind of bring it on. You know, he would tailor his game to whoever he's playing against. You know, if someone's got a bit of pace, he'd drop 2 yards. If he was up against the kind of Shearer type character, he'd be right into him, kneeing him in the back and all that kind of stuff, and smiling about it afterwards. Ian said no interview with Arteta. What a shot, classless fucker. He really is. He's pathetic, Ian. He's a fucking child. He really, really is. Arteta. He's one of the most dislikable managers I think the Premier League has ever seen, to be brutally honest.
It's funny because I always quite liked him as a player. But I think he's become unlikable as a manager.
I think the problem is, I think he thinks he's a better manager than he is. I had this conversation with my dad earlier on, actually. I called him a pound shot. Pep is what I called him. I don't think he'll ever be as good as Pep. I think the next Spanish manager who'll get anywhere close to Pep will be Xabi Alonso, who also happens to be probably the coolest motherfucker in football as well, by the way. But I think Alonso will be a better manager than Arteta. And I just think he has this horrible, bitchy little attitude where he tries to make it, you know, it's us against them, but it just comes across as really, really pathetic. Tim saying, what result? The fucking commentators were shit. If it wasn't for Sir Les, I'd have put my foot through the telly. Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think obviously Big Les was excellent as always. He's been working overtime, Big Les. I think I saw him on a couple of the American things with Shearer, I think. So he's been putting in the old shifts as a Big Les, to be fair. Andrew's also saying, Gordon interview after he said Dan Burn was his man of the season. I mean, we've got to talk about Burn. He got a lot of stick last season from us as well. Certainly when he was at left back, because he looked exposed and you know, his lack of pace, and people, you know, running at him, even just, I don't want to sound too dismissive, but kind of average players running at him just with a bit of speed, making him look like a mug. And because he didn't have Joe Linton there, because Joe Linton was injured, it made him look, you know, even more exposed. But I think when he stepped inside to be a centre half, that's his position, and he looks so much more comfortable there. But also, Mark, I think, and we've got to almost put it in together as a double, the evolution of Lewis Hall alongside him as a left back, some of those, you know, doubling up that they did tonight, the blocks, you know, if Dan Burn doesn't get their holes right behind him, and they seem to have this beautiful understanding on the left hand side, which is, again, is another reason why I wouldn't break it up, because Hall and Byrne seem to be having this really good understanding together where they know where each other are. Do you know what I mean? And then I even seen Byrne shouting "Hawley, Hawley" and giving him thumbs up for like sweeping in behind him and covering up. You mentioned a couple of times about Hall's ability to just usher the ball out of play, something he was never doing when he first came into the team. He looked naive. He got himself in trouble. And I think maybe those experienced defenders alongside him, like Cher and Byrne, have really helped both him and Tino be better defenders, I think, in terms of the nous and the positional sense.
Well, there's a point earlier in the season where there were a lot of question marks over Tino's ability defensively. I mean, in sort of his
we questioned it. Well, yeah.
Even that over recent weeks he's looked 1,000 times better than it was, and he's just ability to just stay with players because he's got that pace. And Lewis Hall doesn't have that pace, but I think he reads the game so much better.
He does.
But for me, Lewis Hall is all about the ability with the ball at his feet, because he's just so calm. For somebody so young to not panic at all in any sort of given situation, he's just been just astonishing. And the two of them, and I know there was probably a bit of hyperbole with it about, he's definitely going to be the future of England's two fullbacks. Then I don't think you can look beyond them now, because they're playing in such a way and at such a high level that I really can't see anybody else getting ahead of those two for the future. I mean, Arsenal have one of their own who looks really, really good in Lewis Skelly. I thought he's a very good footballer, but I don't think he's a patch on Hall. So
I don't think I don't think there's two better young fullbacks in the league. Yeah. I think both of them will get in the England squad. I'll be absolutely stunned if they don't get in the England squad. I mean, Kellish is saying he was surprised we didn't give Byrne man of the match. I mean, again, man of the match is a tricky one. Kellish, Dan Byrne was amazing. I mean, you could give them all man of the match. I just felt, for me, Tino, and like Mark agreed, just the way he played in the first half, stopping probably their biggest threat in Martinelli. But yeah, Byrne and Murphy for England. Why not? I mean, I'm a big believer in rewarding players on form for international call-ups. And I think you're looking at them too, as you said there. I mean, Murphy's had loads of stick off all of the fan base, us included. He has been on fire, for the last 2 months. And that deserves England recognition, in my opinion, especially for friendlies as well. Have a look at the player, get him in the squad, see what he looks like. You never know, he might surprise you. And for me, Dan Byrne and Murphy have got to be in the shout for an England call-up. They have to be. You can't be, how long did Southgate, it's like fucking Sir Southgate, don't get me started on that bollocks. I mean, talk about rewarding failure, giving a knighthood for someone who'd done fuck all. But how often did he play Maguire in squads and Phillips in squads when they weren't even getting in their first team? These two lads aren't just getting in their first team, they're bossing performances against so-called elite teams, and other England players like Rice and people like that as well aren't getting a look in against these lads. So yeah, I'm all for it, Mark. Why shouldn't both Murphy and Byrne be in the reckoning for an England call-up?
I don't think there's another English centre-back that is playing at a level of Dan Byrne at the moment. Maybe he's sort of similar, but I mean, Mark Gay's done all right. He's not been. I don't think he's played as well. Maguire's nowhere near. John Stones is a million miles off it. Tamori maybe, but I don't think he's particularly been playing as much. I'm trying to think if you go well. Colwell, I don't think is anywhere near that level performance-wise at the moment. Maybe
he's not kicked on, as he Colwell. I think he's slowed down a bit.
Look, we know that Dan Byrne is coming towards the back end of his career in that, but form-wise, no reason to say why he shouldn't be in that. And Murphy as well. At the moment, is there another English right winger that's in the form that Jacob Murphy is in? Saka's injured. You've got, Cole Palmer. Yes, you've got to look at him playing sort of down that side, but he has to be considered, surely.
Surely. I mean, I heard a rumour that Vinicius Jr. was texting Jacob Murphy and asking him for tips to try and get beyond his fullback and get the ball across the box. Really, that's how good he's playing. Agent Tech Streams are saying Longstaff to Wolves. There's a couple of people mentioning that. I thought Longstaff may have been somebody who could go this window. We've talked about this, at length before. I think Sean did all right when he come on tonight. I thought he he got stuck in. You know, I mean, that tackle he won was a great tackle, and then the commentators were trying to turn it into a free kick, which is bullshit. And actually, Sean got wiped out shortly after it. But I mean, it's an interesting one with Sean because, you know, Dubravka, we'll talk about Dubravka in a second, but, you know, Sean's got over 200 appearances for the football club. Eddie Howe obviously likes him, we trust him as a player, but we do have to do a little bit of wheeling and dealing. And as a channel, we may be chatting to somebody soon about football transfers. So we'll keep powder dry on that one. Hopefully that will happen this week, and we'll get a great video out about it. But in terms of transfers in the window, you know, we know about players moving on. Miggy, you know, like he's going to be moving on, but Miggy comes on tonight, you know, works hard. Sean comes on tonight. Dubravka, is this his last game tonight? I heard that apparently the deal isn't finalised, so he may play again against Wolves, and then Pope's back for fitness, and then he'll obviously go off at the end of the window over to Saudi. But I mean, I still didn't think it was clever to sell Dubravka. People are talking about Trafford being linked. We talked about this the other night. I don't rate them. Newcastle potentially could end up losing 3 players this window, Mark. Do you think there's 1 or 2 coming in?
I mean, again, we talked about this last night. If you let Dubravka go, and Pope isn't, if you let him go now and Pope's not ready, then you let him go only if there is somebody else coming in. I'm sure, I guess there has to be 1 or 2 if you let those players go. You can't let the squad be depleted more by allowing Miggy, Sean, and Dubravka go. And excuse me, there was the rumor that Trippier might be on his way as well.
I don't think
he'll go. Let those 4 go. You can't do that unless you've got somebody else coming in to fill some of those gaps, because all of a sudden at that point you've only got Tino at right back. You don't have anybody else to cover. We said that last night. But if the deal for Dubravka is done for when Pope's back, but I'm uneasy about that. And from a defensive point of view, because I just think they've looked so much better with Dubravka behind. They look so much more comfortable when the ball goes back to Dubravka than when the ball goes to Pope. Because when I see the ball go to Nick Pope, I'm panicking. Not only Nick Pope, we know that he rushes, he doesn't hit those passes, but Dubravka just looks a little bit more assured. There was a pass tonight that I think he plays out of play, but I think that's just because that Arsenal had pressured him, and it was the easiest thing to do at that point is regroup, put the ball out for a throw, and then let everybody get back and defend, and that's fine. You have to do that. Sometimes you have to hit Rosette, as the other cliche goes. That's my second one.
Nothing wrong with putting out a play, mate. No. This weird modern day analogy you have to play off in the back, get you into trouble. Sean said he could tell from Dubravka's face he's gone tomorrow. I mean, if Dubravka is going and they're bringing in another keeper, I mean, you know, we talked about Trafford last night. For me, I think Kelleher's the better choice because he's more ready-made right now. I know you rate Trafford, but it would be very, very, very dangerous. We're 2-0 up in this first leg. Back at St James's Park, we've got a great chance here of another Carabao Cup semi-final. Not a Carling Cup, as I tried to say the other day, because I lost what year I was in. I jumped me DeLorean and went back in time. But if we go into another cup final with a third-choice goalkeeper in either Vlachodimos or John fucking Ruddy, who I'd rather put you in goal instead of Mark, to be brutally honest with you, I think you probably, your reflexes are probably better. You'll get down quicker. But I think if we do that again, it's not clever by the club. It's not clever at all. It's not like we've got a brilliant young keeper coming through. We haven't got a Tim Krul to throw in there and go, fucking hell, where's he been? You know, what a player he is. You know, like when we had Harper and Given and Krul was there. We haven't got a keeper like that, you know, on the books. So it would be mental for us to let Dubravka go and have no options. I'd like to think the club has an option behind the scenes, whether it be Trafford or Kelleher or whatever it is, or somebody, fucking hell, even an experienced keeper on a free from somewhere that somebody out of the blue that we've never heard of. That was on a free transfer.
Karius again at this point.
No, not Karius. You know, but some, you know, a bit like when De Gea was on a free and then he went, was it to Napoli? He went there?
Fiorentina.
Fiorentina. Somebody like that, you know, somebody's maybe out of contract or get them on a nominal fee till the end of the season, a short-term contract, something like that. But if they just let Dubravka go and don't have the cover, I just really think that's very, very dangerous, mate. I'm worried about that. I really, really am.
Yeah, I agree. Unless Pope's fit, and then Pope comes back in, and you've then got
even that though, Mark, how long does he stay fit? That's the worry.
I mean, that is the argument, isn't it? It's whether he stays fit, but also is that trust, and things have improved really since Pope. Now I know it's not all down to him. I'm not going to be that harsh, but the defense looks so much more calm and so much more assured with Dubravka behind them than they did with Pope, and that's for an awful long time. But the only thing I can think of is if Pope's going, Dubravka's going, Pope comes back in, the Greek backs him up, and then the other two are your third and fourth, and then you're then looking for one to come in the summer, because I don't think Vlachodimos is going to stay for any length of time. I think Pope will move on at some point soon. So then you're looking at who's the new number one, and maybe that will be Trafford by the reports, and I think that's Barney Rubble's just put in there, Trafford confirmed, sad but true. Sorry, I've just taken that one off the screen for you. If that is going to be the case, but is that going to be now, or is that going to be in the summer? Because I can't see.
They've got to bring him now, mate. They've got to bring him now.
From a Burnley point of view, they're in the midst of a promotion push, and are they going to lose their number one goalkeeper now? But do they have a choice? So
Ian's not a fan, as you can clearly tell. Now, see, the thing with Trafford is he come to the Premier League. He was young, and it was thrown into the mixer really. With a team that was constantly under pressure. He got bullied from set pieces. That worried me. He got bullied. I think when company yanked him out of the lineup, that was not great. But it might have been the best thing for the lad to go away and try and develop his game and all that. Listen, if he comes in and he looks to be the goalkeeper everybody hopes that he is, then we'll be laughing. But if he comes in and he's powder puff and he's getting shoved off the ball and stuff like that, then that's going to be a real problem. Speaking of the two review, they are in the chat. Good to see you guys. Woohoo, we're halfway there. Bring me silverware. You're a poet and you don't know. You probably do, to be fair. If that's Paul or Billy, whoever it is in the chat. It's not Stato, I'm sure, because he's off crunching numbers, I'm sure, in the background somewhere, like you do, Mark. Normally, you just come away from the number crunching to talk about this. But yeah, I agree with Philip. We need an established keeper for me as well. Listen, if we're signing Trafford, I'll try and get behind him as much as I can. But as you say, Mark, if Pope is fit and he stays fit, and Trafford can learn off Pope, and then he can step in as that natural replacement. Look how well Lewis Hall's done. Look how well Tino's done. If they manage to get the same thing right with the keeper, then we'll stand back and say, hey, do you know what? You guys know what you're doing. And dare I say it, swig a Kool-Aid. Do we trust the process and move on?
Yeah, and look, Croc's put in here, can't our Greek keeper also improve or just make outfield players better? And that kind of is that point of...
I don't think they want him though, Mark. I don't think they ever wanted Vlachodimos.
No, but there is an argument to say that, give him time, especially working week in, week out with these players, that he could...
That's a good point as well. Uncle Buzzcocks makes. Is he not cup tight? I thought he played for Burnley in the cup. Do some digging, Mark, on that in the background, will he? Just to see if he did. I'm sure he played in the early rounds. Did he not?
I don't know. It's a type of thing Burnley would do though to keep him out of that.
Here's a thought. What if we go for both of them? Matt's saying Kelleher's a much better option. What happens if we sell Pope in the summer and go for Kelleher in the summer, and then have Trafford and Kelleher?
Neither one are going to want to be number twos.
Possibly. Who wants to be a number two? Shit, that.
Yes, he isn't cup tied. He's only played in the Championship this season.
Sorry, you missed my shit joke there. You missed my.
Sorry,
you're too busy looking.
But no, neither are going to want to come and bench it again. That Kelleher's done it enough. If he's going to move, he's going to want to move for first team football, and Trafford's not going to leave first team football to come and sit on a bench.
I understand. No, I agree, mate. But I mean, going back to tonight, I mean, obviously, in terms of transfers and everything, we'll loads of time to talk about that. But the performances just tonight, just games like that, we used to fold like a fucking deck chair on Whitley Bay Seafront in games like that. We'd crumble under the pressure. Shot would go in off the fucking bar, and then they would just fall away. Would get absolutely battered. Would be like whipping boys. we're now going into these games. We're going to grounds like Old Trafford, like Spurs, like the Emirates, and we're saying, no, we're Newcastle United. You're going to need to turn up to beat us. And to see that, as somebody who's watched Newcastle as long as we have, to see that transformation in performance, attitude, arrogance from the side. We've now got that centre forward that everybody covets, that everybody wants for their team. We had it with Shearer for years, and then Shearer, unfortunately, went from playing in brilliant teams to really shit teams, but he was still Alan Shearer. And Alexander Isak, I'm not sure, I don't think he'll be at the club as long as Shearer, to be fair, but let's enjoy him while he's here. I mean, that was his 50th goal for the club tonight. And if you think about his appearances, 50 goals is unbelievable. But the players around him, the way the midfield's gelling, the wingers, and we talked about the right side, but again, as Channel Right says, Murphy fantastic again. There's no surprise to me. Murphy knows that there's pressure on him, in terms of that right hand side, and all of a sudden he's started up his game. Maybe Murphy's knowing that somebody's going to potentially come in January or the summer, and he wants to show what he's all about. But we talked about dribbling, and to me that would make loads more sense to bring in a young player who can come in and come out of the side and get his game. Get Eddie ready, as we called Lewis Hall at that particular moment as well, and that would be absolutely perfect. In terms of the progress of a player, but I never thought we'd get 2-0 in this game. I thought we'd squeak a 1-0 or a 1-1, but to go back for the second leg with a 2-0 lead, Mark, and potentially even add players to that squad for the second leg is absolutely unbelievable. And bring on Bromley at the weekend. Let's batter them fuckers as well with the kids, and then Wolves next. I mean, the ceiling at the minute for Newcastle just seems to just get higher and higher. There just doesn't seem to be a ceiling at the moment. You look at the league, if Arsenal or Chelsea have a wobble, we could be sitting there in second or third in the league by the time the season's finished. And to think some of us were asking if Eddie Howe was the right man for the job a few weeks ago. I know at that particular moment there was questions that were valid to ask, because that's football. But I mean, what could the season turn into, Mark, off the back of these kind of performances, mate? If these continue, what could the season end like?
We sort of touched on that initial result being a turning point, and it was maybe, and we said then it was a little bit too early to tell with the game against Leicester and against Ipswich. Those are the teams that you absolutely expect to get 3 points against, but it was then the next ones that became the judging on how that run was going to progress. And well, win. So I mean, the rest of the season, barring problems, barring injuries, barring anything else, that, I mean, whatever's there for you is there. You can go and do whatever now, because there are 5 points between Newcastle and Arsenal in second, and Forest, who are equal on 40 points. There's no reason to say that Newcastle can't be in with a shout of finishing in that top 4 or 5. Obviously, City have picked up a little bit of form again now, so that they look like they'll probably get back into that race quite quickly as well. Will Forest drop off? No, it doesn't look like it, because they're on.
Nobody keeps saying it, but everyone said that about us when we finished fourth.
This has all the hallmarks of Leicester and Newcastle's run to the Champions League. It was, when was it going to end? When was it going to end? And it just kept going and going and going. So, look, it's the season can be whatever they want it to be, and if they continue to do exactly what they're doing now, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a cup win. It could be absolutely anything.
Mate. I mean, if you can imagine Champions League football at the end of the season, guaranteed, Carabao Cup in the trophy cabinet, Alexander Isak, Bruno Guimaraes and Gordon are all staying, and then we add to the squad. I mean, as Ian Wright said, what could we do? Super chatting from Peter. Thanks for that, Peter. Give me a striker from Sweden. First name Alexander, second Isak. Absolutely. He just gets better and better. Some of the movement tonight was just honestly breathtaking to see that. But I understand why Arsenal covered him so much, because he reminds them of probably their greatest ever player in many ways. But they had the chance to sign him and they didn't take it. And we signed him for 63 million quid. And, now here we go. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Absolutely. So So sorry, I've got a comment there from Paul. I'm just going to pull this up and read this. When you advocate Eddie out and slating anyone otherwise, do you want to apologise? I already said I was wrong the night, Paul. If you watch the show, which you clearly don't, mate. I know you're not fickle. You had your reasons. Many of your subscribers need to hear you say you were wrong. Well, I did last night, mate. To be fair,
I've done it. Yeah. He's done it. Yeah, definitely done
it. I did, Paul. And to be fair, like I say, with football, just 2 seconds about with football, managers are in that kind of vacuum of pressure all of the time. And if results don't go your way and team selection looks questionable, all fans of every shape and size will ask questions about whether the manager has reached the point where he's done enough for a team. Eddie Howe, as a young manager, has gone back to the drawing board, turned it around, and massive credit to him, Tyndall and the team, because they've got this team absolutely flying, even better than they were a couple of years ago. And I'll admit, maybe it was a bit too soon to be asking whether the manager was out of ideas, because he clearly isn't, Paul. But we don't wag fingers at people on this channel. I'm sure you're not, mate, but we don't.
I think there was an element of the absolute. If you question the manager, if you question at that point,
you got jumped upon. That was a bit. That was a bit too strong.
It becomes this point of you're not a fan if you're questioning the manager. But I think things were going badly.
It's football, though, mate. That's football.
Performances weren't there. Decision making within games wasn't there. There were questions, and I mean, even I'm the most on the fence bloke in the entire universe, and even I was starting to get to that point where I say, if you can't get that turnaround, if you can't get to that point where he can, start to get results, start to get performance out of the players, maybe it is time. We've been proved that wasn't the case, because he's turned it around. He's made those changes. He's got those players playing now at the level that we know they can do. The switch around in midfield was brilliant, and it was something that a lot of people had sort of called for and said that. And I talked about before, about getting Bruno higher up the field is always going to be a better thing for him. He's made those changes. He looks now like there are game plans in place for teams. The Spurs second half in particular, that defensive makeup today is you can start to see the thought process with substitutions like tonight. You can start to see the tactics coming out. So fair play. You hold your hands up and go, maybe it was a little bit too early to be questioning, but there were questions to ask at that point, but he's answered them. Brilliant.
Yeah, well, just a couple of comments there. The guys are kind of agreeing with what you're saying as well. Nobody needs to apologise for question how previously opinions change, for fuck's sake. That's the point of having a working brain. Well said, Buzz Coxon. Trev says as well, he deserved the criticism, he turned it around, end of. And that's the world of a football manager. Eddie Howe knows that. The players know that. Sean Longstaff will be the best thing since sliced bread one week and dog shit the next week, and that's football. You're only as good as your last performance. I work in sales, and we're the same. You could have a record year the year before, and then come January, you're exactly the same as everybody else. You know better than anybody else. You haven't achieved anything. You've got to do it all over again, and that's the nature of competitive lives, really. And the players know it, and the manager knows it. But if you get results, you turn performances around, you turn opinions around, and that's football. So I think that's probably a good way to end this one, Mark. It's been a positive night, a brilliant performance by the lads. We're only halfway through this tie. Arsenal are a very dangerous side, so we can't take anything for granted. But I think 2-0 is unbelievable. What a result that is going into the second leg of this game. We've got the transfer window to get stuck into, so hopefully we've got some good content coming out in the next few days, and we will update you on that, as soon as we know that it's all going ahead. We might have an opportunity for some of the members to get some good questions as well for our special guest potentially, which we will work on. We'll be back with a preview for Bromley and the post-match after the Bromley game, where hopefully Louis Miley has a hat-trick, because we've missed Louis Miley for a long time. So, or a Sala, one of the two, or maybe both of them, 6-0 win. We'll have them two get a hat-trick as well. But it's been brilliant, Mark. I've really enjoyed it. What a performance. How were the lads? Let's get the second leg smashed as well, and let's get to the cup final and win a bloody trophy, for God's sake.
Absolutely. Enjoy your night, everybody. Take care.
Have a bell, everyone. See you later. Cheers.